Barbershop Talk here right after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Today is Saturday, Small Business Saturday. Make sure you get out to support your local businesses. Just to let you know, this is a community endeavor, a community media endeavor to get voices out that are not normally heard and to support our African American, urban, and greater community. So come out, support us as we continue to grow. We ask for your patience as we continue to grow Barbershop Talk here. But certainly come out and join us, help us out, watch us, send some questions on behalf of Andre Crockett, the man, the founder, the man on all of this. My name is Jonathan Bailey. Welcome to Barbershop Talk. Today we have Captain Chris Ford with us from the Rochester Fire Department. Captain Chris Ford. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
How was the holiday?
Man, it was good, you know.
You get your chitlins and your sweet potato pie?
Oh, man, no, I didn't go home this time. It was spent alone, actually. So
really?
My kids and family were busy doing other things, so hopefully Christmas will be
a little bit more
with the family, and I had a good time, a little quiet time at home, and I did cook myself up a little.
Yeah, I did that
stuffing and everything, you know. Yeah.
So where you originally from?
I'm originally from Arkansas, man.
Arkansas.
From Arkansas, yes. Sir.
Ah,
yes, sir.
So definitely some good cooking down there.
Oh heck yeah, man! You know it.
Oh man. So you're here, right? How long have you been with the fire department?
I've been with the fire department for 20 years. And,
here in Rochester.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everyone seems to be surprised by that in the black community when I'm here, you know. Say, how long have you been here? I'm like, 32 years. Like, what?
Yeah,
32 years. So I've been in the community for 32 years.
Right.
You know, doing various jobs. I did work at Cup Foods, you know, for Super Value. I was a manager over there for years and years and years. Kind of got tired of the corporate world, so to speak, and decided to make a little change. And, you know, got tired of being a supervisor and making money and having all the pressures of that. You know, great company, paid me well. Took a cut in pay to become a firefighter, as a matter of fact. And it was just the pressures of making money all the time. I just wanted to be able to do a job and come home for a minute, you know. So
what brought you up to this? Was it job, education? You love the weather, or what?
No, it wasn't really the weather. I interned for 2 years up in St. Paul.
Oh, really? Okay.
When I was in college, I was an intern / co-op for the government at Fort Snelling, and I went to college to be a computer programmer. Like Annie was mentioning, you know, very seldom people graduate from college and work in the fields that they went in. There are some, but very few. And so I interned for 2 years up there. Because my dad was here. My dad and mom got divorced when I was a sophomore in college, and he moved back up here. We used to live here in the 60s. My dad was my dad was a civil rights fighter, and he found that although there was racism here and in the United States, that it seemed to be a little less racist in Minnesota than it was down south. And he dealt with some issues from the war, and he was up here seeing doctors and stuff. And that was, we lived up here for a while. When I was like 3 years old or so, we moved back down south because my mom did not like the winters. So I ended up spending my time up there until the college deal, and after I graduated from college, I came back up.
So, firefighter.
Yes, sir.
I have a privilege. I go to Denver every year and work with the Denver Fire Department and the burn units there, Children's Fire Department. So I get to see a lot of or meet a lot of firemen, and it's a fun out there. It's for a week. It's for kids who are burn victims. So a lot of the firemen come out around the community to support them. What hit you about, hey, I want to be a firefighter?
You know, it was a lot of things, Don. When I've been a trailblazer all my life, and you know, I noticed they didn't have any black people in the fire department. I had a gentleman that used to come into Cup Foods all the time. He was a firefighter, and he was talking to me about the job, and I'm like, you know, hey, I think I would like to do that. You know, and so as I was looking for that career change, that just happened to pop up, and I looked into it a little bit, and it's a wonderful career opportunity. It's a great job. Like anything else, everyone knows it can be a dangerous job.
Absolutely.
But we're still trying to with me being on the force for 20 years, I'm still the only black person on the force. So I went out and I spoke to the city administrator and the chief and human resources, and I said, you know, the city of Rochester, we need to really do a better job of diversifying the city. Not only in the fire department, and not only with blacks, but all minorities, Asian, Hispanics, and whatnot. So we had that conversation, and they assured me that they were going to be moving forward in that direction to try to get better.
And this is the city of Rochester, not Alton County.
Yeah.
So firefighter, now this dude is a primetime athlete. I fancy myself as an athlete, but this is a real athlete right here. So I'm assuming you are an athlete, and you thought, hey, I can do this fire thing.
Yeah, I played ball back in the day. You know, at home I was considered an all sportsman because I played ball year round. You know, I went from football to basketball, track, baseball. Did that all my life ever since I can remember. And you know, I'm competitive, and yeah, I figured I could do it. And like anything else, you know, just wanted to be the best. You know?
So how were the rigors? I've been a police officer. I went through that initial whatever, become a police officer. I'm sure preparing to become a fireman, it was really strenuous. I assume.
Well, you have to be in some good physical shape. I would say the most important thing about it is the upper body strength that you really need for, you know, picking up people and carrying them out and being able to carry the pack. You know,
and you have to like do that in some type of scenario where you had to carry.
Yes, yeah. They call it the CPAP, and basically it's firefighter duties that you're doing while you have the pack on, and it's a weighted vest and a helmet and whatnot. And I think the weighted vest is like 45 pounds or something like that, because we put anywhere from 45 to 50, 60 pounds extra weight on us when we get up. So you got to be able to carry your weight and the extra weight, and then if you have to rescue someone or pull, and when we do that all the time, even just pulling people out of the cars and the weight of somebody that you have to rescue.
So I assume there's a fearless quality to you, like a Kobe Bryant, you know.
Michael Jordan,
you can go into that fire and do the do, right?
Yeah, that's the mentality that you have to have, you know, and you're exactly right, and that's how I look at it. It's like a game, it's me versus that fire, you know, and the thing you have to know is where is it going and how to stop it. And you're kind of in an offensive mode, but you're in a defensive mode too, because you gotta, you know, you've been a ball player, you know, sometimes you have to, you know, predict some things, you know, and kind of just say, well, what is this cat gonna do? You know, how is he gonna react? You know, he does a spin move every time he comes down, so I'm gonna meet him over here. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's the same thing with fire. You know, it's like, okay, well, I know that it's over here, and this is where it's trying to go, and I'm gonna stop it from getting there. You know?
So you mentioned that, you know, in your 20 years that you're the only African American firefighter. So is there anything that you're doing personally that young kids know that you are a captain? Is there anything? I mean, because you just said that, you know, a lot of people say, you know, how long you been here? It's as if they surprised to see you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, will you be hiding at? I mean, you're talking about will you be hiding at? You know what I'm talking about? I'm trying, listen, you're here first. All y'all in positions. I'm calling y'all out. I got a bunch of young brothers that need people who look like you. All right, so how do we get you out? How do we get you involved? And how do we get more young people who want to be the ultimate sacrifice, what you're doing?
Right on.
Hey, man,
how do we get started?
All you have to do is call me, and I'm there because I believe in that. You know, I coached football for 18 years.
Really?
You know, like 9 years over at Lourdes, 9 years over at Mayo. I was a mentor over at Willow Creek for about 6 or 7 years, trying to reach young African-American men and get them, you know, their reading skills and stuff up. They were very interested in playing ball, but we have to try to get them ahead on the educational things that they need to be in place on to move further ahead in society, you know. But anytime that I can go out and help youth and tell them my story and whatnot, because anyone my age, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm 56 years old. And
what?
Oh yeah, baby.
Good, brother Black.
Oh yeah, baby.
Correct.
I'm telling you, baby.
Good.
You know.
That's a lot of Vaseline. That you that skin look good.
I'm telling you.
My son said, "What you shining? What's all that stuff in your face?" Dad said, "Vaseline."
Hey man, you gotta make sure you
it's cold out there.
Elbows and feet.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it. But I talked to your former chief of that he retired. Your former chief. Well, I think before I got a little sick and ill about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I met with him several times about a mentorship program. About trying to get special like in the middle schools and other there or doing we call visits so kids of color can get other places they have mentorship programs that ride-alongs and stuff like that to help with the recruiting process because Rochester is good for talk. Right. Yes, dude. I mean, so I was talking about that initiative to really get involved. I know one thing he talks about is that the test is hard. The written test.
Right.
Not just firefighter?
Yes, not just the physical part, but have problems, even having problems, getting the qualified candidates and able to pass the test.
Right.
Is that pretty strenuous?
The test is difficult, and we talked about this when I mentioned earlier in the show that I talked with HR and the city administrator and the fire chief because I wanted to keep him in the loop too because we have a new fire chief and it sounds like they all want to move forward. But yeah, the test is complicated, but here's the problem with the test. The test is and they found out because they looked into it, which, congratulations to them. They found out that the way most African Americans don't do well on the test is on the mechanical portion. They have things like, if the chain's moving in this direction, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they're looking at nationwide, even changing that because most black kids or most African American kids that come from inner city communities have no mechanical background. We didn't grow up on farms. Where we're fixing stuff and fixing cars and tractors and building things, So in that way, like I explained to them, we're looking for entry-level people. We're not looking for rocket scientists, and they don't necessarily have to have a mechanical background, like I explained to them, because that's something you could train someone to do. And and I think they realize that, and I think they're going to start pulling that out. But the other problem that we have is we don't get African American young men or women, for that matter, to come out and test or a firefighter. Like I said, I'm 56 years old. I'm probably first generation, civil rights bill, et cetera, back in '64. But I was raised back then, to go get an education. Get an education. Get an education. Don't work with your hands, work with your mind. I picked enough cotton and strawberries for you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that with middle income African American is resonating even with the youth. And they still look at firefighting as blue collar work. But it's a very good paying job. There's a lot of benefits to it, and I would wish in some kind of way that we could get more African American young men and women to step up and do it. Because right now, in the Rochester Fire Department, I think that 51%, the last I checked with Human Resources, of the members on the department have some sort of college degree.
Wow.
And this is even include, the Caucasian brothers that we have out there, because they went out in the workforce and worked and came back, and someone told them about the job and the firefighters. We get 4 days off after we work a 72-hour stint, and they're like, man, you guys make that kind of money? You get that kind of time
quick.
off?
I know with being a police officer, you topped out in 3 years. I'm assuming for this high
Topped
risk.
out.
I mean, the high part of the salary.
Oh, yeah, the steps.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's 4 years for the firefighter, but yeah, in 4 years you're a top pay.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow. That is nice. So and this is my ignorance, I apologize. Do you have to have a 2-year degree to be like a policeman? Do you have to have a 2-year degree to be a firefighter?
No, you do not have to have a 2-year degree to be a firefighter. You have to have a technical for Rochester.
Okay.
Let me say this. You have to have a technical college degree, and I even had to go back to school to get my firefighter 1 and 2 in my EMS.
Okay.
Rochester looked at it like that's just the way of someone showing initiative that they wanted to be a firefighter. Now, Minneapolis and St. Paul, on the other hand, don't require that. They put you through their fire academy and you get your firefighter 1, you get your firefighter 2, and you get your EMS. And I think that's another way for the city to start recruiting more minorities, because you're looking at a situation to go to both of those schools, you may be looking at a $2,000 investment or more.
Right.
And you're gonna put a $2,000 investment on something where I may not get a job.
Right, has to be tough.
Yeah, and especially, for someone coming right out of high school and whatnot,
So that intro exam is serious, so is it like 100 questions or just random?
I don't, man, that was 20-something years
ago.
Yeah, and so like I said, I was talking to him, it's tough even at HR to even push some of that stuff through, you were saying, right?
Right.
And that's why I said that we have to start younger, especially if we want to diverse, because there ain't too many African American other people want to come to Rochester. Right. And so we got to start developing within, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you already talked about now we're pushing hard in Rochester for, technical college and, trades and everything like that.
Right.
Because now we finally get to the point that everybody's not going to go to college.
Right.
Right, and this is especially for the kids that I deal with and stuff like that. I think that they're kinesthetic learners, right? They athletic and they like that adrenaline and stuff like that. This could be a good field for them to really to go in the discipline and stuff that you have a lot to offer. But the problem is that the kids I deal with in the community never see individuals like you or never be introduced to. You know what? Maybe I could be a firefighter. Right.
Yeah.
Possibilities, giving them a different look, but they don't get a chance to that because nobody deal with it. I know you deal with other organizations, this and this, but we're talking about we have a collective group of individuals, perhaps that that we can say, let's help diversify.
Right.
I would think, and kind of go back to the quote that I said earlier: children cannot aspire to be what they cannot see. I would think with the clients that we work with, if we took a Captain Chris Ford into some young men and said, wow, Chris Ford, Captain Chris Ford, 20 years in, great man, I would think a lot of those young men, young women would aspire to be you. I would think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, they will.
Because it is a great profession to become a firefighter.
It is.
It's paid well, great community. Do you think the same thing? Because I think that's the big issue, because I don't think in the communities we grew up, Indianapolis, Arkansas, and Maryland, we saw black firefighters and teachers and lawyers and the whole nine. These kids don't see it. And so, what do you think? I mean, I think it's the identity piece, in my opinion.
I agree, and I would like to press the rewind button and go back, what the good pastor said here, and it's one of those things that I read an article once, and I think it was in the Post Bulletin, but it was about, African American recruitment at Mayo Clinic. And it might have been recruitment period, so I don't want to stamp this in gold or anything. But they were saying that I think it was just about recruitment period. They were saying that they still lose a lot of young people to major cities like Chicago and LA and Baltimore, although they pay more. For whatever reason, young people, and especially young African American people that come here that are professionals, they come here and they're like,
5-year plan.
So we have that problem too. We have that problem of wanting people, to come in and test and take that lead. But that was one of the things, I love the game of football, but that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. I wanted to reach out to the youth, and I wanted to be there for them, because when I look back at stuff, some of the people that I look up to the most are coaches. And I wanted to give that back so badly to these kids. And I wanted to be able to reach out to them, just like some of my coaches, as an African American, and realizing, hey man, I know your story. I was there. But this is what you have to do. And it's a tough deal. And we all know it's a tough deal. We're here in 2018, brothers, and we, if Martin Luther King was alive today, he'd still say we got a long way to go.
Long way to go. So I got a question for you. When I go to Denver and work at this at-risk camp for young victims, a lot of Denver firefighters, right? One of the things they do is a calendar of the firefighters. They get all muscled up and blah, 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 and they sell the calendar. My question for you is, where's the Rochester calendar, and when can we see you dressed up, with no shirt on, with a big axe, on a firefighter calendar?
They look at your face like,
Well,
that ain't happening,
Come on, man.
that ain't happening right now. He told man say he 56.
Where's the firefighter calendar?
Man, we don't have a firefighter. They have one in Minneapolis, I think.
They do? Okay.
St. Paul put one together, but we don't put one together,
I don't look good on it.
Man, come on now. I'm 56 years old. I'm not getting on the calendar. They want me to be last when we be Mr. December. So by the time they'll be done looking at all the cats.
That's right. You can wear your clothes. It'll be cold. It'll be cold.
No? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you've been here for a bit. What do you like about living in Rochester? Because you're a lifer, if I can say that. You moved up. You're not on the 5-year plan. You're here. What do you like about Rochester?
Well, one of the things I like about Minnesota, truthfully, is the summers. I think the summers are absolutely fantastic. Rochester is a community. I guess you asked me a tough question. I do like Rochester as a community, but like I mentioned to you earlier before the show, it's a big city with a small town attitude with it,
Right. It does.
And there's a lot of Minnesota nice in Rochester and whatnot. But people really have treated me well in this community. And I definitely don't have to go through the turmoils and stuff that I went through when I was down south. And even when I go back home, there's some of the blatant racism that still goes on down there that's just automatically so blatant.
Right.
It's like, have you people lost your mind? And you realize it's 2018?
Right.
And I don't feel that.
But what's worse, you think, that down south racism or Minnesota nice racism?
Well, that's
because to me, I know, because my mom's from South Carolina, so I know what to expect. You see what I'm talking about? This is a whole different ball game. Whereas they can laugh, talk in your face, talk nice, and then at the same time get you in the back, right? And so I think it's that sometimes we think that when we accomplished or made it right. One of my buddies wrote an article years ago. He said the day he forgot he was black, because the moment he thought he'd arrived, he made it, right? Right? Until he found out.
The Tiger Woods Cabernet.
And it really comes to that, you know.